to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
My Straight Talk family, it's time for me to bid you a very pleasant night to all in St. Kitts and Nevis, and to my Straight Talk family around the entire Eastern Caribbean region. To my Straight Talk family in the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora, we are coming to you on the World Wide Web, so we are all over the world. So I can say good night, world. I can say good night, Africa. Or no, I should not say good night, Africa, because I know that there's so many different time zones. But I know that some of you are in Africa. There's some of you in Europe. There are some of you in Asia. And there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I can say good night. I will say good morning. And I will also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And you're a first timer. I recognize some first timers. So I am duty bound to inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process continue, or I should say, let us in the process strive to get St. Kitts and Nevis back to the enviable position we once held as being the freest country, or one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you on yet another occasion. And my Straight Talk family, my short dissertation tonight I have entitled From China to St. Kitts-Nevis with Love. But I will first, on a solemn note, crave your indulgence to list some obituaries and to inform you that Newtown has lost two stalwarts in the persons of Professor Oswald Elliott, well-known and accomplished lecturer and a former schoolmate of mine. And we just learned, sadly, that Oswald, as he's affectionately known, has gone to the great beyond, and we extend condolences to his entire family, his siblings, or his nieces, and his nephews, his niece, one niece I know in particular, and his nephews. And we've also learned of the passing of Comrade Earl Clark, a Newton man to his backbone, and we extend condolences to his wife, Mrs. Clark, and all his daughters, to his brothers, Dr. Franklin Musgrave, and the Musgrave family, Ken Musgrave, and sisters Gillian, Greta, and others. I was trying to remember the name of Mrs. Esdale, forgive me, trying to remember her name, but all the sisters, his entire family, for that matter. And the world is mourning the loss of the queen of rock and roll, Tina Turner. Her soul classics and pop music, like Simply the Best. We know that, right? And What's Love got to do with it? Catapulted her to what I call superstardom. And Tina Turner has gone, but she'll always be remembered.
You must try to ignore that it means more than that. Oh, what's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?
Yes, who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? Do you remember that song? Tina Turner, gone to the great beyond at the age of 83. But may the souls of Oswald, Earl, and Tina rest in eternal peace. And I want to hastily move on to consider our usual observations in review. And this is the time when we highlight the issues of the day and do some reflection. We may then ask a few questions. Such as what has happened since or what was accomplished. How has it helped others? What has changed since? And what can be expected next? Also, what new we have learned as a people. The feedback we continue to get is that this component or this section of the program is quite useful as it keeps our Straight Talk family up to date. And more than that, it helps to keep our leaders truthful. And just for one clarification, it just came to mind that last Monday on our last program, I intimated Early Clark? No. I intimated that the supervisor of the elections, Oakland Pete's, summarily dismissed all of the returning officers. I did, in fact, all of the registration officers. I'm going to make the same mistake. I did, in fact, say the returning officers, but Oakland Pete's fired all the 8, well, 7 to be exact, because one, in fact, died. Mr. Jones died, ex-policeman from Sandy Point. And all of the returning officers, all of the registration officers have been summarily dismissed by Oakland Pete's. And we ask ourselves, what is the sinister plan? What is the ulterior motive behind his actions? And I just been told that I miss Erla. Did I call Erla? I miss Erla Clark. Did I call Diane as well? But the sisters of Earl Clark. Excuse me. And for example, our first observation, unless we are forced to expose one more time, and I'll continue to do so until it stops. But the misinformation the Prime Minister continues to peddle when he said in an interview on a well-known radio station just yesterday, and he keeps doing it, I just don't know why. And he said this, my Straight Dog family.
National Bank, for the first time in its history, could not pay a dividend. So we had to take over a banking sector and try to get it back on track.
And really, I don't know why the Prime Minister has been, he's bordering on being obnoxious, because as we here on Straight Talk have pointed out on more than one occasion, that the Prime Minister must know that his assertion, and he makes it with such confidence, but it's a false statement that the National Bank has not paid a dividend for the first time, because the National Bank, in fact, paid a dividend. And again, if the Prime Minister just asks a question, because one can glean from the pages, page 6, page 36, and page 125 on the notes, and they're here. I do have the pages. I always have the pages from the annual report of June 30, 2022. And Prime Minister Duke can glean from the report that it has recorded the amount of the issued share capital that was authorized in 2022. And the bank paid a stock dividend, which is a payment to stakeholders that consists of additional shares instead of cash. You got shares at the par value of $1 per share. So, Dr. Drew, why don't you desist from belittling, because that's what you're doing. You are belittling the office of the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance by repeating your ridiculous statement, absurd statement, that the bank for the first time in its history never paid a dividend. How ludicrous, Dr. Drew. And until you stop repeating that absurd proposition, Straight Talk will ensure that the truth is peddled out there. Our second observation also relates to the Jew Labor Administration, under which the country borders on an economic depression. The common cry is, not Naguan, man, not Naguan. Yes, it's off season, so the cruise ships are no longer coming. The grassroots economy lacks investment, lacks innovation, and more than that, the grassroots economy lacks access to resources. The administration has literally kicked many people in need of the social assistance programs. And this has become stressful for many individuals and families, for that matter, my Straight Dog family. Now, the PAP, which is the People's or the Poverty Alleviation Program, as it is called, shortened form or acronym meaning being PAP. But the PAP has suffered the most, as thousands have been kicked off under this administration. And it's not easy. I've been meeting people from day to day as I walk into town or in my constituency, and they are telling me it's hard. It's hard. And thousands of people have been literally kicked off the Poverty Alleviation Program with no justification. And we are asking Prime Minister Joe, Jeffrey Handley, where are your hearts? It's not easy for some people.
It is not EASY. It is not easy. And do not be fooled. Do not let no nice show and no nice thing fool you. The $500 we are getting now from the PAP thing, it is so helpful. I wish I could triple it up. It's so helpful. It come in so handy.
But the truth is, everyone can say the same. Because like I said, thousands have been literally kicked off the PAP. And the common complaint all around the country is stress. And stress causes psychological and emotional distress. Under Dr. Drew, his policies or lack thereof have resulted in stress for many people and seem to have caused a psychiatric ward at the J.N. France Hospital to burst at the seams. Because I was reading a report from the Director of Health Institutions, Dr. Jensen Morton. And according to him, the situation is overwhelming, and cells at the Bastia police station are being used as holding space for psychiatric patients who cannot be accommodated at the fully occupied psychiatric unit of the JNF. The word on the street is that things are so bad that more people than ever are going crazy under Dr. Joe. One lady told me this afternoon that many in St. Kitts-Nevis are unhappy and without hope. And that's not good. But we pray to Almighty God. And funny how a day in politics and the quest for power and money makes a difference in elected officials. And this is my third observation. Because when we reflect, and many have been telling me about Mark Brantley's performance in the assembly today, I did not. I just couldn't take that today. And forgive me, my straight dog family. I couldn't take it today. But when we reflect and make the point that Mark Brantley mashed up the best thing the people of Nevis had, or corrected, the best thing the people of St. Kitts and Nevis ever had, just because he wanted to be a kingmaker. He wanted to dip his hand in the federal treasury as he liked, instead of finding ways to generate his own revenue over there in Nevis, his revenue for the NIA operations. But he continues to live without or outside of his means. My straight dog family, remember, he cried for this.
I make the point, my Kittitian brothers and sisters, that when I come as Premier of the island of Nevis and representative in chief of the over 13,000 souls that call Nevis home, I do not come as some mendicant cap in hand. I do not come asking for help or for a favor. I come as a full citizen of this country who's entitled to claim on behalf of the people of Nevis an equitable share of the revenue flowing into Bastia from national efforts.
I'm so sorry, those are rough, they just can't stop me now.
Whichever political party or coalition of parties holds the reins of power in Church Street, I wish to be clear that the people of Nevis will never stop demanding their equitable share of the national pie.
You know, my Stray Dog family, ironically, Mark Brantley has lapped his tail between his legs. Like, you know what? Since the current Prime Minister has told him exactly what the former Prime Minister did. He was told this before and told this again just yesterday.
I've said it time and time again, when it comes to revenue sharing, I want to set this particular point that we have pursued once again to engage the World Bank to help to inform us into how we should divide our revenue.
He was told that before. Let us go to the World Bank and get some advice. But no, he figured a sixth form student in Nevis can do that. But I don't think, quite frankly, that we have to run to the World Bank, because the Constitution, in my humble opinion, is clear, pellucid. And all we have to do is to dismiss this elementary argument about tax revenue and non-tax revenue, as these are just economic classifications. Because in my view, revenue is revenue. And mash up a whole government with that nonsense argument. And Mark, as opposition leader, in my final observation, my Stray Dog family, remains so disingenuous and continues to do a disservice to the federal parliament and the people of the federation with his political games. He spoke before on the passport issue, for example, but suddenly he remains mum, looking for his next trip, no doubt, while the Prime Minister evades the very questions that he, Mark Brantley, posed before, but now he's silent.
Our Prime Minister, for his part, has steadfastly refused to provide any information to our people as to the numbers of passports issued or the countries from whence applicants are being drawn.
Right now, he's mum, as I said, looking for his next trip, no doubt, to go and ride bicycle with the Prime Minister some other time. But history will not be kind to you, Mark, as God doesn't like ugly. My grandmother used to say, take my word, someday you will face the consequences of the bad things you continue to do. Those are my observations in review for tonight, my Stray Dog family. And at 8:25, I hasten to move into my short dissertation tonight, which, as I said earlier, I have entitled From China to St. Kitts-Nevis with Love. And my Stray Dog family, If we reflect on COVID-19 for a moment, we will recall that the pandemic significantly worsened tensions between China and the USA, and Europe seemed to have been caught right in the middle. China, in the meantime, continued to promote its main objective, which is to become the dominant power of the era, the dominant power in a period of time when the world came to a virtual halt, and its rivals struggled with the health and economic effects of the coronavirus. The disease had placed the clinical laboratories and testing for COVID-19 front and center in the worldwide discussion of how to end the outbreak of this coronavirus-induced pandemic. One of the most challenging aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic for clinical laboratories had been ongoing supply chain shortages and disruption. Laboratories not only struggled with maintaining an adequate supply of test reagents or substances used in the chemical analysis of the coronavirus, but also other essential supplies, including consumables such as swabs and viral transport media. As the demand for testing increased, recall, alongside a global shortage of necessary supplies, laboratory professionals were forced to identify ways to do more with less. It was at that time, and given the circumstances, a doctor from St. Kitts called Terence Michael Drew first fell in love with China and contemplated making a quick buck on the back of Kittians and Nevisians. Dr. Drew back then attempted to introduce Chinese test kits in St. Kitts-Nevis. You must recall that. According to then Minister of Health Wendy Phipps, the federal government was not prepared, not at all prepared, to gamble with the health of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
We are not using rapid test kits, and we are also not using test kits out of China, out of an abundance of caution, because we are not prepared. This government, the Federal Ministry of Health, is not prepared to gamble with the health of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
And yes, the test kits were reported then to have been faulty. The test kits from China were all reported to have been faulty. And these were the reports coming from all over the world.
Just 4 days back, Nepal purchased testing kits worth millions of Nepalese rupees from China. But soon, the advisor to Nepal said that many countries using the same kits are showing unreliable and controversial results. The Himalayan country's Ministry of Health and Population has advised the country's hospitals to not use any sort of rapid testing kits sent by China until their quality can be assured. China's testing kits claim to produce the results in just 10 to 15 minutes, but reports from many countries show that the results are far from accurate. Just last week, Nepal's airlines flew to China to bring the consignment. Reports suggest that some of the companies making the kits are not even officially registered in China. Earlier, Spain and Czech Republic also purchased testing kits from China, but last week, Spain sent back millions of purchased kits back to China. And about 80% of the test kits delivered to Czech Republic were recorded to be faulty.
But my Straight Talk family, lo and behold, 2 years later, as fate would have it, Dr. Terence Michael Drew is now head of the federal government, and he has found a second love in China. This time he has introduced not test kits. He has introduced 2,400 houses, but unbelievably, he excludes poor people. Not for the poor, said his disgraced Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin. Poor people are not bankable, he said.
It is not government buying the houses or NHC buying the houses. It's individuals buying the houses. This is the solution for persons who are bankable and can take a mortgage loan from a credit union or a bank, and they can purchase their one-bedroom house for $111,000, their two-bedroom for $213,000, and their three-bedroom for $297,000.
So how will poor people get to the bank is a question we are asking. Will the government guarantee the poor man's loan? After all, the government has a fiduciary duty to act in the best interests of the poor. In fact, Section 1, subsection C of the National Housing Corporation Act mandates that the National Housing Corporation must provide housing for the indigent and infirm. Yes, they must provide housing for the poor. But instead of ensuring that the National Housing Corporation provides housing for the poor people according to the law, the Drew administration facilitates a partnership with an unknown private firm from Trinidad and Tobago and guarantees its investment to the tune of $154 million.
This is a particular type of development where your East Coast has come as a development partner to invest their money, and so they are coming into our country to pursue a housing development project. They have met with NHC and are partnering with NHC. East Coast is from Trinidad and Tobago. This gives the opportunity for a larger number of houses. East Coast is a company registered out of Trinidad and Tobago, duly registered and so forth, and we have not seen any reason to think that is not a legitimate company. However, we built our safeguards still in the contract that we signed.
But my Straight Talk family, there is general consensus in the land that this bunch of green politicians in government have no solutions for the myriad of problems the country's economy is facing, especially after surviving a pandemic never seen in 100 years, never seen in 1 century. The government has therefore become desperate to find solutions, and whenever you find this happening with green politicians in particular, they will present distractions such as this agreement. East Coast housing development will fail, I submit. They will fail to build 2 houses each day or 600 houses each year, because this agreement is nothing more, nothing less than a big, big distraction. The terms of the contract are secret, and the conditions are sketchy, and the disgraced Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin made a silly excuse about trade secrets. Very, very silly excuse he made about trade secrets and Straight Talk family.
There are certain parts of a contract that involve commercial aspects, trade secrets that you cannot release, even if it's a contract with a government. And that is why the Freedom of Information Act had certain aspects that could not be revealed by way of an application of the Act. And one of them is commercial trade secrets. And there's a reason for this, because this company might have competitors. And the competitors might be able to get an unfair advantage. It's not about hiding anything. But certain things that the public, by way of an application of the Freedom of Information Act, cannot have access to.
Truth be told, my Straight Talk family, and High Court Judge Tamara Gill has already stripped the Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin of his moral authority to speak on these and other matters. Because recall, in a court decision dated the 16th of February 2023, Justice Gill by her ruling said that Garth Lucien Wilkin has no integrity whatsoever. So how can we trust him when he told us this, my Straight Talk family? How can we trust Garth Lucien Wilkin?
2 model homes will be built that the contract contemplates. During the construction of those model homes, the local contractors will get to learn the modern technique, the special technique that is being used for these reinforced concrete slab homes. If the government is not satisfied with the homes or the construction, whether they could withstand serious hurricanes and earthquakes and so forth, which the government has experts who can verify that, and whether NHC is not satisfied with the homes, and by extension, the end user, the persons that these homes are going to be sold to are not satisfied with these 2 model homes, then the contract comes to an end. And I can't see how that is not the best way to protect the end user.
My Straight Talk family, how can we trust this man? And we should not, because he has uttered a pure nonsense proposition. As a highly redacted copy of this agreement can be made available for public scrutiny. Any document can be specifically edited in order to hide, conceal, or remove sensitive information. The bills of quantities, for example, cannot be a trade secret and must be made available, especially since the Prime Minister revealed just yesterday on radio that the cost of land is not included in the cost of the house.
With respect to the cost of the housing, as was called in, yes, the cost of the house is the cost of the house, but the overall cost can be affected whether you have land or you don't have land. If somebody has his or her own land, obviously it will just be the bare cost of the house. If you are getting land with the house, then of course you have the cost for the house, but the cost which is stable and fixed. But if you have an added cost of your land, that can affect the overall cost, and it depends on how much the person would have paid for their lands. So that is a very good and critical question, and can influence at the end of the day the overall cost. But we are making sure we work hard to get the lowest cost possible, especially in this climate of inflation and increased cost of building materials and so forth. So we are working on that.
So the country needs to see this dubious agreement as Dr. Drew confuses every issue he tries to address. address. He suggests that poor people can afford these houses. Is the Prime Minister out of his mind? If not, why would he make a statement like this one, my Straight Dog family?
When I hear people talk about for poor people, I want to know what they're talking about. Houses. You think these houses are for? Because housing at the market price right now, people just wouldn't be able to afford them.
Is Dr. Drew really trying to convince us that these houses are for poor people when his sidekick said they are for the bankable? We must all pray for the help we need, my Straight Dog family, to cope with these experts in government who have introduced an alternative to democracy. I said it before, but need to repeat it. They have introduced what is called an epistocracy, and this is frightening. It is frightening because in a democracy, every citizen gets an equal right to vote. Whereas in an epistocracy, the voting power is widespread, but the votes are weighted. In other words, my Straight Dog family, the votes of more knowledgeable citizens like Drew and his members of cabinet, my Straight Dog family, these votes are weighted. These votes are weighted, my Straight Dog family, because only they know what they are doing. So, more knowledgeable citizens in an epistocracy, their vote will count more than your vote and my vote, because only they know what they are doing. They are specialists, my Straight Dog family.
It is a privilege to sit in this cabinet and listen to my colleagues, because it is clear we have specialists across all sectors of the government. And so when they speak, when we speak, people can have confidence that we know what we are talking about.
But for now, my Straight Dog family, we will stick with the issue of these Chinese fiber cement board houses that are on everybody's mind. Everybody is asking about the houses.
There's talk going around that this company, this Trinidad-based company, is going to create its own or set up its own concrete plant and import cement from China. This again, if this is true, it also has implications with regards to the relationship between St. Kitts and Taiwan. So I don't know. I would like you to at least speak about that issue.
My Straight Dog family, could Foreign Minister Wu really trust PM Drew? Drew's first love, remember, was on mainland China, where he sourced his Chinese test kits 2 years ago and tried to make money on the backs of Kittitians who were suffering under this coronavirus-induced pandemic. His second love is mainland China, where he sourced everything for these 2,400 Chinese fiber cement houses. is the relationship between the Republic of China and Taiwan and St. Kitts-Nevis and the Jew really stronger than ever? Do you believe that, my Straight Talk family?
We have a solid relationship with Taiwan. This is going to mark 40 years and the relationship is stronger than ever. I made an official visit to Taiwan last year, my official state visit. This year, in our 40th anniversary, we are going to do things together which we have started. That relationship is unquestionable.
But in the meantime, Irish man Jerry, who lives in China, told the full story about the China-Jew relations, my Straight Dog family.
I live in China. My partner in China, we export all the goods. We have projects in St. Kitts, and now we feel that this is the right time to start the process. So we're actually bringing in a team to set up the factory and to instruct how to use Crete foam.
Yes, Jerry told the story. In the meantime, the Jew Labor Administration has approved the factory to manufacture Chinese fiber cement boards for the 2,400 houses. The full list of items coming from China that will be granted duty-free concession. Yet the houses cost so much money. The list includes stoves, refrigerators, rooftop solar water heaters, tools, equipment, vehicles, heavy machinery, and its Crete Farm housing system factory. To many of us, my Straight Dog family, it sounds like a Nancy story. But it is true. And we do not know, we cannot tell what is next. But right now under Drew, right now under Dr. Terence Michael Drew, everything to stimulate the economy comes from China to St. Kitts-Nevis with love. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines. I will open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. I must implore you, though, before I do. I'll do so in a few seconds. Respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned, and in saying and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. The numbers are 646, that's overseas, 829-6672, or our local number 663-6672, which is also accessible for those calling from overseas if you just insert the area code 869. There are those of you who like the cloak of anonymity. And my Straight Dog family, we provide you access to our email platform, which is accessible via our email address, straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's STRAIGHTTALKPATCHES @gmail.com. If you just join us, as I said, our theme tonight, from China to St. Kitts with love. We told you about the first love of Prime Minister Zhu from China. His first love, remember, was in mainland China, where he sourced his Chinese test kits. His second love is mainland China, where he sourced everything for these 2,400 Chinese fiber cement houses. Yet he talks about his relationship with the Republic of China on Taiwan. Under him is stronger than ever. But he's not Elimat, so I will never believe that. My Stray Dog family, I'll take some emails in the meantime, but as my lines are open, I'll await your calls. And this email reads, I wonder who the Prime Minister think he fooled except himself. When the nuts lady told him, beg your pardon, about the video that was circulating with a stern warning, admonishing him, who can't hear will feel. What a lie. He must have heard and seen the video, but he had to lie. Then the author of the video called in and rebuked the nuts lady, saying how malicious she is. It would have been more appropriate for the author to eat humble pie and swallow his pride and beg the Prime Minister pardon than to attack the nuts lady and referring to her as mischievous. The nuts lady was right, reads that email. This other email reads, a Straight Dog family, Jew is a product communist indoctrination. The last bastion of that model is China. And Jew is known to be a sympathizer of Cuba, Russia, and China. It's who he is. The only way Jew could have secured Chinese COVID kits or test kits from China at the height of the pandemic and before China was donating them to its friends is if Jew has a very, very close friends or has very, very close friends in Beijing. Reads this other email. Yes, his first love was in mainland China, where he sourced his Chinese test kits. His second love is mainland China, where he sourced everything for his 2,400 Chinese fiber cement houses. It's now 5 before the 9 o'clock hour. Let's go to the lines and say good night. Caller, you live.
Good night, Dr. Ian Patches Liburd.
How are you, my brother?
Oh, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Everything is good in Mount Strat.
How is the volcano?
I carry some ice up there and I cool it down, you know?
You did?
Yeah, man. So everything is good. Don't be scared of nothing.
Okay.
I got it under control.
Good news, my brother.
Yeah, well, I want to say good night to my partner of Newton and to all the straight talk people them listening. Wake up out your doors and listen to straight talk, because this is the third program on radio where you get what is happening here in the Federation of St. Kitts-Nevis by Straight Talk. And I want to say something here tonight. Let me go here now. That's it. Happy birthday to Dimples. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Happy birthday, Dimples.
Yeah. Anyway, let me go here. There are some people politically minded and politically focused, like the man over Nevis, the premier. Before the last election, everything out the mouth was Nevis wanted a fair share of the passport money. Well, I wanted to know if the passport only have on the name of St. Christopher and not Nevis. Because all of a sudden now he stopped talking about fair share for Nevis. So it seems as though Nevis get a fair share. That is the reason why he lapping up under the leader of the Federation, which is Dr. Taliban Terence Joe. He is operating like what you call a political G-string behind you. Now, when the Attorney General Patrice Nisbet was the Attorney General in the Labour time, he used to abuse Patrice Nisbet and tell the people of Nevis that Patrice Nisbet come down to St. Kitts and he will never ask for anything that Nevis deserve to get. Well, all of a sudden now he forget that Nevis need fair share. And Nevis ain't get the fair share that he was arguing about and cussing Dr. Harris as Prime Minister and Team Unity, because his intention was to behave like termite, and he get the termite action work, break up the unity government. Now look what he doing. He ain't doing nothing for Nevis. All he got is hard talks and sharp talks. And the Nevis people them calling me down here too. They say, "Why culture don't ease up? Don't ease up because that man they deceive us. He deceive us badly. He ain't doing nothing to bring any income into Nevis." No, Patrick Juman supposed to be the leader of the opposition. And with all these wrong things, what Dr. Joe, as the leader of the Federation, is doing to the country, take away the poverty alleviation program from people. People now starving. People body run down. They don't have no money. Everybody balling. They can't afford to put on $5 on the phone. Dr. Joe, you ain't love no country. You mash up the country. You cannot run no country. You better take up your stethoscope and hold it round in it and get about the leader of the leaders of the country chair. You do not know how to run a country. You put in the country in deficit, and you come talking about National Bank. People never get a dividend in so many years and whatnot. Dr. Joe, I know that when you start to button up your shot wrong, you're gonna end wrong, and you're gonna in government in the wrong move. And so therefore, I don't expect anything truthful, and I'm not surprised with your action that you're taking in this country. You do not allow people. You have a communist mind to mash up this country, and this country don't belong to no one man. And we're gonna march and get you out of India. You don't deserve to be it. You don't know what you're doing. You have no plan. All you do is to turn with people. You and one day supporting you. You want to turn them way. But Patrick, I'm going to say, and I won't come back. So let me move. Let somebody get a chance. Coming back to celebration and other things.
Thank you very much. My dear brother, always so assertive, always so passionate. Patches reads this other email. The 2,400 houses for sale. The government and the NHC can still go ahead and build homes for the poor people. Let the Trinidad Company build their 2,400 homes but the government and NHC can contribute their poor people housing project also. So because your neighbor is building their home, that doesn't mean you cannot build yours. Let's us get this correct. Thank you, Patches, reads that he made interesting perspective, but the fact is, why partner with a private firm, give this one-time 154 million guarantee to facilitate a project that won't assist the poor people which you are whom you are mandated to address, you know. And then the issue about trade secrets, a real nonsense issue, hiding. The government speaks about transparency, and yet they hide everything. Everything. You know, if there are trade secrets in that document, redact it. There are redacted copies that are circulated. So if you have 4 lines, let's say he's correct, and there are 4 lines that speak to trade secrets. So the 360 lines are not going to be released? Nonsense. Any document can be specifically edited in order to hide or remove sensitive information. The bills of quantities, for example, cannot be a trade secret and must be made available, especially since this Prime Minister revealed that the cost of land is not included in the houses. So how could they be for poor people, as he said? The cost of the house excludes the cost of the land. And that's what he said. Took everybody by surprise.
With respect to the cost of the housing, as was called in, yes, the cost of the house is the cost of the house, but the overall cost can be affected whether you have land or you don't have land. If somebody has his or her own land, obviously it will just be the bare cost of the house. If you are getting land with the house, then of course you have the cost for the house, but the cost which is stable and fixed. But if you have an added cost of your land, that can affect the overall cost, and it depends on how much the person would have paid for their lands. So that is a very good and critical question, and can influence at the end of the day the overall cost. But we are making sure we work hard to get the lowest cost possible, especially in this climate of inflation and increased cost of building materials and so forth. So we are working on that.
Imagine that. But this message reads, "Good night, Patches. My neighbor across the Narrows, my neighbors across the Narrows are complaining that Dr. Cat gone with fair share tongue." And we know who always spoke about his fair share. But the country, again, needs to know or to see this dubious agreement, as Drew confuses every issue he tries to address. And sometimes you ask yourself if it's a deliberate ploy he uses. I mean, you heard him yesterday. I heard him. And I asked myself if Dr. Drew was out of his mind. I asked myself why he would make a statement like this one if he was not out of his mind.
When I hear people talk about for poor people, I want to know what they're talking about. Houses. You think these houses are for? Because housing at the market price right now, people just wouldn't be able to afford them.
Is Dr. Drew saying the houses that he's building are for the poor people? are for the poor people? I try to listen to it. Let me know what's your view on this. Listen to this carefully.
When I hear people talk about for poor people, I want to know what they're talking about. Houses. You think these houses are for? Because houses at the market price right now, people just wouldn't be able to afford them.
He's saying houses at the market price right now, people couldn't be or wouldn't be able to afford them. But what is he talking about? Is Dr. Drew really trying to convince us that these houses are for the poor people? When his sidekick and disgraced Attorney General said they are for the bankable. My Straight Talk family, let us pray. Our situation in St. Kitts and Nevis is becoming dire. People are depressed, as someone said to me today, just today. And I just forgot I'm making a very fundamental error here. It's an oversight. I should have hailed up my dear sister, Karen Sadio. Karen is in fact celebrating 50 years today. And Karen is having a ball over there in New York. So I want to say happy birthday, Karen. And if you're having a ball tonight, you're having a party tonight, remember me. And say hello as well to Auntie P, who is with you. That's good. But happy birthday, Karen. 50 years old today. And you've gone to New York with your mom to celebrate. We wish you many, many more birthdays, my Straight Talk family. And as I said, my Straight Talk family, it's difficult in St. Kitts and Nevis. Everybody is crying out. Under the Jew administration, the country borders on an economic depression. The common cry is nothing going on, nothing go on, the man will tell you on the street. It's off season right now. So the cruise ships are no longer coming. Our taxi drivers, the ambassadors of the industry, would have to really tough it out for the next 4 months. They will have to tough it out. Patches, good night, reads this email. I am willing to call, but you know how it is. I told you a few weeks ago about Labour that I want to take credit for the amount of ships or cruise ships call for the season. Just gone. And yesterday I heard Dr. Drew saying some of the cruise companies did plan to pull out of St. Kitts, but it is Marshall who went and got them to come. And on the other hand, he's saying that ships have to book way in advance. That's how he tied up himself. Think people stupid. No way. They could have got all these in 3 months patches. Our Prime Minister is too lie. I don't know if it's Douglas training him to lie, but it is possible. I'll be tuning in to hear the rest. Good night, Patches. St. Kitts is the worst state, or in the worst state I've ever seen. It is like every day something unpleasant happens in this country. What is the lackadaisical government? What is it with the lackadaisical government? It stinks from the head and runs down to the parents and the kids. The man Jew must be thinking he's talking to all fools. And when he speaks, he and his comrades laugh after the people of St. Kitts. When are we going to actually do something to the Labour Party? The cost of the land is not included in the house. You can take the houses and the land and put them in. My grandmother told me once, China put down its flag. Nobody can remove it. If we listen to Jew and listen to him carefully, we all notice Jew is fully dunce. Reads this email. Yes, my Straight Talk family, if you have just joined me, it's 12 past the 9 o'clock hour. Our short thesis tonight is entitled, as I said before, my Straight Talk family, China. From China to St. Kitts with love. And we looked at the content of the thesis and we examined the rationale and the rationale behind the theme. We reflected on COVID-19 and we recall when the pandemic significantly worsened tensions between China, the USA, and caught Europe in the middle. But China continues to expand in an attempt to become the dominant power of this period of time and beyond. Recall when this doctor called Terence Michael Drew first fell in love with China and contemplated making a quick buck on the backs of Kittitians and Nevisians. We must remember when he attempted to introduce these Chinese test kits in St. Kitts. And it was the Minister of Health, Wendy Phipps, and the federal government who took a decision not to gamble with the help or health of the people of St. Kitts-Nevis. Because back then, the test kits from China were reported then to have been faulty. Then lo and behold, 2 years later, Drew, that Dr. Drew, is now the Prime Minister of St. Kitts-Nevis. And he has found a second love in China. This time is introduced 1,000 or 2,400 houses. But unbelievably, he excludes the poor people. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Hey.
So.
Hey. So you want us to think stupid because he believes he's stupid. Hey. But just let me use this opportunity here. You know what happened with Joe and his attorney general? They don't know any better. They know nothing about no house building construction. Joe talking one thing about the house, and the Attorney General talking another thing about the same houses. They're not in touch with each other, and they know none of better. How in the world anybody could be bankable when the little money that the people were getting, you take with the money coming in the people's hands. For people to be bankable, they have to be getting money. Joe, you can't fool nobody. Stop it. Because you come building house cost 100 and whatever million for the 1 bedroom, and it goes up and up and up and come talking about these are poor to help poor people, and then you come talking about you have to be bankable. People not stupid. You all don't know what you all doing. And before you all give up and say, look, we thought we could do better than the unity, but we are doing worse. Are we going to face the fact? Let us come out and let us have a by-election or whatever election, and we're going to see who win. Because, Joe, you know that you cannot win. Truckmen cannot get no work. Everybody bawling, mother. Things hard. Imagine this psychiatric ward full up with people getting semi-crazy that they got to use down the police station to put people in there, and you call yourself a doctor? Come talking about smart hospital you want to build? What smart hospital? Nothing is wrong with the JNF hospital building. Is the performance inside the hospital? A hospital is only a place where people take care of people with a medical hospitality. So don't come tell nobody about you want to build smart hospital. Now, Patches, I heard something this morning on one of the radio station news that they're going to break down. Now, they put back the horse in front of the cat after they don't start the journey with the cat in front of the horse with the grammar school building that you went to, Patches. And now we come talking about, you're looking for people to bid to break down the house. Now, here what happened now. A man who was talking about the constructing and demolishing of the grammar school building said that they're going to break it down, and the broken material, the waste material, they're going to truck them over to Canary and the solid waste. And then they're going to dig down 4 feet in the ground to remove the contaminated soil. And then they're going to truck dirt to full back up the 4 feet. I don't know who tell he that contamination is only at 4 feet deep. They're deeper than that. Now, when they carry these things over solid waste, where they're going to dump them in the old salt pan that is condemned, they're going to put them over in solid waste where human beings are walking over there. Just like how people got to be careful when they carry asbestos and a dump. The people who are walking on the dump and whosoever else around there, they got to be careful with asbestos. If so it is with the demolished waste that come from grammar school to go over there, people walking over there, I don't concern about the people's lives. The people who walking over there, they could be get contaminated, especially the tippers who direct in the truck where to bring them things. And I just don't want to say, you're continuing what is in the pipeline from the Unity administration that Mark Brantley, the grudge, here to mash up. You all don't want to carry on what they had. Government go, government come.
Okay.
Government come has to carry on what the government has gone left there to do. But you don't want to do nothing. But we're going to take you out with demonstration. We're going to march. Take out out in the island, supposed to be in there.
Okay.
I am mashing up the country. The country in Iowa won. The country is everybody won.
Okay.
Patches, I'll come back. I'll get into emotional here now.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Okay, my brother. Thank you for calling. Let's go back to the lines. Our caller, thank you for holding. You're live. Hello, caller.
Hey, Patches. Good night. What's up?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Well, you pick up on the voice.
Mi amigo de Mexico. Vive
See,
Mexico.
See.
Come on, Tom.
I have a few questions I want to ask you that you might be able to clear up for me. From what you started out saying that the Prime Minister said that actually the land is not included in the price of the house. Okay? Many people in St. Kitts and abroad are stuck with these lands in St. Kitts where they cannot do anything with them because of the infrastructure. There is no infrastructure. If an individual abroad wants to build, and let's say he wants to use the program, because I would say it's favorable to people abroad, especially with the exchange rate. The prices are high for some Kittitians, but yet for people abroad, it will be next to nothing for some, especially people who live in England, the exchange rate. So they may want to use the program and build. Is the government going to take care of the infrastructure where those people have those land? Secondly, I am assuming that for people who do not have land, they're going to have to give up land. Are they going to take care of the infrastructure for those houses to be built? Is that going to be additional cost to what they're saying the house cost right now? Thirdly, if an individual has the finances to build a house, okay, from his pocket, and he don't want to use the bank, are there any provisions how he can get one of those, he or she can get one of those houses built without having to use their bank to go through for 25 years? You know of anything that is set up?
So you mean you'll pay cash?
Yeah, you can afford to, but there are some people can afford to do that. Pay cash. Let's say an individual that is living in England. When you take the price of a house that they are selling and you convert it, that's pocket change to somebody.
Well, I'm sure the banks will welcome that, so you don't have any mortgage tied up.
Yeah, but if you don't want to use the bank, is there anything set up? Because no bank going to do anything with anyone unless they're going to get something out of it. So if an individual has the money to pay for it, he or she don't want to be stuck with any interest either.
Well,
where I'm coming from.
Well, the announcement spoke to bank financing having to go through, to use a colloquial term, the banks.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's why the talk about this bankable issue came up. But that's a good question.
Yeah. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
There are many people abroad, in particular, that can use the exchange rate to reduce the cost of their house to satisfy them, where they can pay for the house out of their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't need the bank, what provision are they set up for them to be able to use their hard-earned cash? Could they just go to is it NHC or whatever it is, and set up something and have them build the house, especially if you have your own land already?
Well, that's something I'm sure NHC would like to countenance. It's a good not a bad proposition at all. At least you're not tied up in for, as you said, 20 and 25 years. So.
And that's what I'm saying. And the next thing my concern is with the land throughout St. Kitts where no one can use, I'm sure you may have 5, 6, 7 people in one area that may want to build. Who's going to take care of the infrastructure? Would that be an added cost to the house?
Well, the government is obligated to provide infrastructure. I remember when we got into office in 2015, there were about 70 different areas where lands were allocated, and there was no infrastructure whatsoever. A matter of fact, I heard the Prime Minister talking about building infrastructure. But just for 25 of the areas, 25, and that is, I'm talking about 2015, that's 7 years or 8 years ago. The estimated cost just on roads, not at all, nothing with electricity or water, it was $69 million. You know, so when I hear the Prime Minister talking, I just said, talk is cheap, but whiskey costs money. Because
and that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, right.
You can't afford to give people land. Okay, the land being given by whichever government, but you can't bring this program on and actually saying, okay, well, if you have land, we will build. But then the people land are in different areas doing the infrastructure. How are they going to build?
They're not accessible.
For putting in all of that?
You have no access to them. And you're right.
So these are things that I expect at these people when they come on the radio to tell them, well, if you have land and within these areas, Stapleton, West Farm, wherever these lands are, we will take care of the infrastructure that you can build. Because if they're not going to take care of it, that's a cost to the person who wants to build.
True.
And the same thing going to happen because they're going to have to give out land to people in order for them to build if they don't have land. Who's going to do the cutting of the roads? Who's going to do this and all of that? Is that an additional charge to the builder's amount that the builder is going to be charging for the actual house? So then you'll be paying for land, you'll be paying to get the infrastructure set up, and then you'll be paying for the house. So that's going to be more expensive.
Well, once this government land, the private land, there's a requirement that they put in infrastructure to get the approval. A government is normally guilty of not putting in their infrastructure, its infrastructure in the lands, but it's normally sustainable development. All they do, they cut some dirt roads, but there's no electricity and no water. And that's difficult.
And then the rain come and wash them out, then there's no road again.
Yes, but...
so you can't use them, And it's a 300 and some world. The houses, them are 111 up to 300,000 and so forth. You can't expect people to build house, pay those type of money, and then still have to come back and actually pay to get the land graded and probably get water in the area and lights and all those different sort of things. That's going to be very expensive for the poor man. I mean, people abroad might be able to, but still that is something that needs to be clear up, not just internally on the air that people can hear their plans for those areas if people are willing to use the land in those areas to build using the program.
Good point, my brother. Thanks for the eye-opener. As you said, there quite a lot of land that people don't have access to. Some may have paid off for the land, they still don't have access, and they were government distributed lands, and so government has the obligation to put in the infrastructure. And when that will happen is anybody's question. But
and that's what they should be talking about.
Yeah, but thanks for your input, my dear brother.
Okay.
I trust all is well.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Very good points. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, I want to thank you for holding. You alive. Hello, caller.
Hello, good night, Ambassador. How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Oh, I'm very peaceful. I want to say I really enjoy it tonight.
Thank you.
Because we have not really looked on the impact. And I know in your previous capacity as ambassador, would have come across some of the. We are not really looking at the impact of what the Chinese are doing throughout the Latin America and the Caribbean and other nations that are the small island developing states, right? And they're really actually. I think you had raised it a couple of weeks ago when you talked about what was happening. The Chinese strategically taking partners from the Taiwanese, and I find it strange that a housing project at this magnitude, with Taiwan being one of your number one partner in trade and in economic development, actually, that maybe preferences would have been given to anybody who contracted to source equipment from Taiwan. Yeah. Now that is just something on the top of my head. I want to raise have a discussion with you in regards to a discussion I had yesterday with the PM on Freedom FM. I engaged him and I made two suggestions to him, which I think, Brother Batch, is that what we need to look at is the reality is the government needs to realize that there needs to be an urgent diversification of the economy of St. Kitts. The rush to have removed the top in the way that they have done it is also creating significant social problems. And I don't know if they are aware of it, but if you look, more and more people are complaining and letting you know that they really can't make ends meet. And that's just the reality, because that $500 additionally that was being received a month for some people was lifesaver. And so really and truly there needs to be a greater attempt now at looking at creating industries that can become high-end earners. So it means you can get your if it is that PAP will no longer exist, you need to then build industries. So the suggestions I made to the Prime Minister was too. We need to look at logistics. I know you have spoken about it many a times. But we have our location, and the pier falls in the development of that pier on the island main road falls into the logistics agenda, right? I think it has the ability to become a logistics hub for the Eastern Caribbean because of its pristine location. So even though we're talking about the need for a hospital and other things, but if you develop industries that can earn, then those industries can pay for some of the other things, the social needs you need. So that is one of the other things. Coding, simple thing as coding, in teaching the young people to do coding and digital animation, which is where the world is going now, in terms of technology and IT. So I made those suggestions to the PM, and I hope that he apparently he was listening, but I hope that he listened intently. Because the challenge right now, the Honorable Party, is how do you transform the economy? The difference you have if you do not have at the helm of the finance ministry somebody who understands how economies work and how the finance ministry is operated. And that is also a danger, because it is from that finance ministry that some of those policies will come to shape the economy. Yes? So I don't know, but it is we really now need to look at transforming the economy. And so with that much, Honorable Pastor, this is just my few words.
Very sound intervention, my dear brother. I think I heard someone say some time ago that we're trying to provide a Telegram education to a TikTok generation. You know,
right?
Very interesting, my dear brother. But thanks for.
But even as you mentioned that, and quickly, Patrick, that is why the rebuilding of the Bastia High School, even though there are some views who believe it was being done on the aquifer, you could bring in, and there were studies which showed that was not the case. But if it is that you want to bring in another independent auditor from other Israel, because Israel has been known to be countries with understanding of what underground aquifers. The challenge is, if you're going to build the plan I saw for that school would fit perfect in the training for the coding and IT, because really you need a STEM institute, you need a science, technology, energy and math, engineering and math, training institution. And the high school education, secondary education must respond in that way. So with the amount of land space you had up at that new site, you would be able to build a STEM academy. Therefore, you'd be training students seriously in STEM, while you were still having another school there. So that would just be the focus of one aspect of the schooling. So that is a sideway point that I think we could look at, but that is really, really sad because there's a lot of space up at that space. Anyway, Ambassador, you take it easy. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your intervention, your input, my dear brother. And it's the politics sadly overrides everything or most things in St. Kitts, and that's Nevis, and that's the sad part of it, my dear brother. But you're so right in terms of the diversification. We hear them talk so much about tourism diversification. Well, what new has happened? I mean, we had COVID, and for 2 years, shut down the entire world, including St. Kitts and Nevis, and we open up. And what are we doing? Same thing. So if it happens tomorrow, we suffer the same fate. So sometimes we only talk because we do have a mouth. There's no serious consideration of the things you have to do differently. You talk. I've been hearing about diversification of agriculture all my life, and how are we going to diversify now? The focus, it seems, of this minister is to diversify to marijuana, while the farmers, the 30 acres of land, can't get any the bush, no herbicides or whatever they use to get rid of the bush, so they can't plant. So these are the issues we have to address. The caller before spoke to infrastructure, right? There's so many land that has been distributed all around this country. As I said, in 2015, there were 77 areas right around the island where land was distributed to people, and people don't have access to their lands because there are no roads, there's no water, and there's no electricity. And even now, that will be a challenge for those who want to build on their land, even with this new housing project, if it ever gets off the ground. Because what happens if you go up in St. Peter's? There's an area already allocated as a residential site, and 40 lots are inside there. One person wants to build. What do? Put in infrastructure in the entire area? It's a tough call sometimes, really. And I think that's what's happening with these guys in government. They're now realizing what government is all about. But my Straight Talk family, this email reads, is Brantley getting his fair share? Because Brantley feels the share is his and not for the people of Nevis. You can watch Brantley and see greed and a snake-like creature upon him. He's up and down, polishing his teeth and shoes, spitting his fair share when nothing is fair about him. The people in St. Kitts-Nevis are crying out. Every day the ball is just today. A man asked my mom for a small change, and my mom told him he's one who put labor in power, thinking you will get more, but you were fooled. You will go down in history as the worst prime minister, reads this email. My Straight Talk family, it's 20 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour as we go up on the uphill side of 10 o'clock. And remember, for those who join me for the first time, if you're a first timer, Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 to 10 in the PM. It's a program that facilitates free discussion on all issues of national interest. Hi Patches, reads this email. I have a simple question for our silly Attorney General. How the hell can a company like East Coast Housing Development, a company which has no experience whatsoever in building houses anywhere, train our local contractors in modern techniques needed for the 2,400 it promised to build for the NHC? East Coast Housing Development Company, East Coast, beg your pardon, Housing Development Company's Managing Director, Brian Singh, is an ex-police officer. So I am lost as to what exactly he is coming to St. Kitts to train our contractors to do. It's laughable, Patches. Sir, the lunatics are running the asylum, reads this email. It's 18 before the 10 o'clock hour, my Straight Dog family. If you just join us, let's first go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, Patches. Good night.
My brother, jam down. How art thou? Good night.
How are you, my brother? I'm fine.
I am peaceful, my brother. I'm peaceful.
Patches, boy. I don't know, boy, but people think it's boy. They gotta blame themselves. Really, Patches, tell me something. When you were there, when you was in government, you was negotiating a desalination plant, right?
Yes, we had a proposal before us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how come these people, every minute they're just trying to fool people, you know? Like nothing was put in place. This is the kind of discussion they was doing, you know? I can't hear you talk about the plans going forward to straighten out the water. And what that job there to big for a lot of money, yeah? And the best thing It's people could do is just play out the time, and when the time comes, they do the right thing. Because too much suffering, Patches. The bar set very high in the $500, eh?
You know, jam down, right? Listen to the Prime Minister yesterday, I think it was, and he spoke of water, and nothing was done in 7 years. And he spoke about Bede. And Bede, in fact, drilled 2 wells in the Shadwell area. Contrary to the
they did some drilling up there when you was there, right?
Yes, and up to this day,
they did some drill.
Up to this day, one of the wells is not commissioned because the quality of water in the well, and Bede never fixed that. And never fixed it, right? So,
but where we want to know to Patches, because everybody feel they could tell good life. You understand? Where the country need to know what happened to the Christoph death. He ain't talking that, All he doing is smiling.
Smiling, yeah.
All the Muslims friends, Dr. Joe is smiling. And they're telling us about this passport. And the Christoph Harbour debt with all these land they give to Christoph. They're saying nothing about these things. But City is not going to sit down and let them do what they want to think it's and nobody challenge it. And I hope they know that. Right now the country ain't got no position. Look how Timothy handle them today. Look how we handle them today. The best thing for this country is Timothy. And I could tell you, and once think it's people, I pack up and come to the convention. He's a lot to speak. He have a lot to talk. Because he knows what's going on. These guys just spinning. People don't want to hear these things, People want the money in their pocket. And Timothy set the bar so high, Patches. That is, for instance, what Newton, that GMA, so when you get into office, you speedily try to clean up the GND going on by the school, behind the fire department going on there, by Shell. Look at this thing. Look how Jeffrey's at the grain. Look at Panwood. Look the smell of Panwood. And all of them run out of the constituency now. They're running from the poor people. So something serious from break out up there in a home and then the fever. God forbid, we can't take these things and think it's right now. But I could tell you, Patches, you have set the bar in this country for MPs to perform so high that some men don't know where to start. They don't know where to start. And they're calling and thinking people to go to Timothy Convention, come to the convention and hear what the former Prime Minister have to say, because he got a lot to say, and he's better than them. I warning them, pack up and come, because he's better than all of them. Don't care what they say, he's better than all of them. How will you do? He's better than all of them. Because right now, poor people is balling, Patches.
Okay.
People is balling, my brother. That's it, take care. And keep coming to the poor people because we need you. Have a good night, my brother.
Have a good night as well, my dear brother. Jam Down is always so passionate, always be assertive. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Greetings and joy.
Greetings, my brother.
Greetings and joy.
I wish you the same, my dear brother.
Well, happy blessed Liberation Day to you, brother Patches. How you doing? Good night.
I am peaceful, my dear brother Ras Aya.
I just come from there being regarding status and the point. I hear now in Bastia end now. So, me ain't get to get no home of your program setting, but what me would like to say something here, because me have a piece of paper, me have a document here in my hand right now called the St. Kitts-Nevis number of 2023, a bill to provide for the procedure of registration of Rastafari group, recognition of various rights related to the use of ganja, what they call cannabis, by the registration Rastafari group, licensing for the freedom of conscience, possession and the use of ganja in certain public places, and for other related matters. Well, me like to outline on that part there. Because me know you want to go down the next part where they got the old gangster name there, called about the most excellently old gangster king. But I like to emphasize there, right, that when you look at this whole makeup of this bill here right now, they call it Rastafari Right Recognition Bill 2023. It's not fully detailing of what Rastafari itself have outlined over the years. I mean, I just talk about this dialogue within the use of herb. I talk about for the years Rastafari have indicated what the herb can be for the factors of our use. You know, we're looking at here and they still try to give us ways and means of control on the grounds of who we are as a Rastafari people. Well, may I say to this movement of this administration, yeah, I not come here to be controlled by no laws of man. You see? And we not come to be justified by the wickedness that mankind trying to imply, as they say, legislation. Well, if you want to have legislation, what about public education? There is a formality because you are trying to deny this knowledge of the herb to the whole format of the society. And to this day, you want to tell me, since in the time when the United Nations then come to a general discussion and said, it's time to take these petty things, that is the concept of charges against mankind in humanity towards the use of herb. You need to go off of the book because they are hindering the jail cell from expounding in people who are criminals itself. So we are saying here, but herb cannot make a man or a woman be filed as a criminal. So take that kind of thing where they got in the book, written down in the legislation or the policy to be changed. Because even so, how you going to try to bring people into them farmers and make them feel like they're going to agree with them kind of stupidness on here?
So,
you know, defend that.
So, Ras,
yeah, go ahead.
Ras Aya, Wasn't there, wasn't there any consultation with the movement?
Well, I will say this here to the context of what consultation you meaning on, because if there's a consultation can just be with a few people of a group, even though it indicates from the organization of Rastafari Unity. I mean, now I don't know on the corner, I'm not talking general state, because Rastafari is a broad-based faction. Even though you have a split of other different factors that go within the Rastafari tenant, you cannot look at those alone, because individual ones and others who don't know gather around Rastafari tenants, they are part of the Rastafari family still. And we are not denying these here. So we see police and army are still harass Rastafari people. And I'm not going to respect this bill here to be no Rastafari bill. Recognition is not going to fall in my hands as them to say this is what we conclude. And so to tell you your answer, the consultation didn't work properly in the way it's supposed to go. So we still need proper way of having further consultation for things to be proper for our people. Not just for the Rasta, for our people. You see, I'm not come on. Because I not just look for me alone, you know. I me could smoke ganja anywhere me desire without any fear or favor. But me don't want to show myself on that. Me just say, let us educate and put you people to the proper turn on how herb can safely have this around here. And not nothing us look like we want to have no war faction on you, considering on how we can factor ourselves alone. Because we not do the proper education, we have a problem. And that's what we say around here tonight on the 25th of May, marking the 60th/50th anniversary of African Liberation Day. And we are saying, because we have been a gathering in this square this Saturday, and I and others will be using herb. So you're telling me in a short single time, I supposed to go and ask for a permit to have a designated area for smoking in the public area where we're going to have the rally. Which in what I say, we're not going in them kind of stupid context there, you know, because these are not good policies that can be creating to safeguard the society. These are forced policies. So me saying here now, because we had a meeting with him Tuesday of this Tuesday, which I didn't even see the details of what they were coming with until I see the full format of the paper in my hand today when I went in Parliament. Just to show you, the man them not ready for our people to write. They're only ready for what they could gain. And me not fear to say they have none of the farmer administration, they have none of this one, and it was detailed to happen if that bridge in there had get back in power named Denzel Llewellyn in Douglas here, because that bridge in there still undermine the aspect of herb during the tender of 20 years when he said he not seen a problem with the herb. But when he went in there, some of man got arrested and they take up from the home of the family to the use of herb under his watch. We say we don't want no more separation on you. But blessed love, may your program go safe with the love of the Almighty and the ancestors, because liberation must be for all African people, home and abroad. Give thanks.
Give thanks, my brother.
Bless up.
Always to the point, always assertive. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your life.
Thank you, Patches. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Patches, I would like to ask you two questions. Now, in the spirit of election, the tradition that we have from beginning moving forward up to last election, do you think there are room to change the way candidates perform in terms of addition of public debate? You know, American politics. Somewhere along the way, the winner of each party and all candidates who wish, whether it's another party or what, debate. I know there are conventions, but do you think it makes sense to change the way the political arena established to add public debates among all the candidates who wish to participate? Like,
well,
night.
It's a sensible thing to do. At least you expose the candidates to the constituents.
Right.
You know,
Because imagine a person who condone to Labour policy. Another follower condone to PAM policy and all the other political parties. Instead of convention, I mean, if the same needs for convention, how about the supervisor of election or to whom it may concern, adding a public debate where everyone can see their candidate on one stage and they show themselves, but the whole federation, the whole world will see that. I like the way American politics debate. Do you think that's a good idea for the next upcoming election? And I think there are time. The next thing I get. Okay, yeah. I will let you answer that one, and I have the second one, and I'll yield.
No, well, as I was going to say, it's a sign of maturity. I mean, reflecting back in I think it was 1993, there was a leadership debate between both 93 would have been, yes, between the Prime Minister then and the opposition leader, Douglas in time. There were two debates, I think, but I don't know what went wrong with that after Douglas won. But,
well, I see it necessary to have it back.
You're extending it to the candidates, and that's nothing wrong with that.
I think that will be a true meaning. I think that will be a true meaning for people to see their representation by their candidate than just an individual one have their own convention. The next question I'd like to ask. You know, the Federation have 9 constituencies. Nevis 3, St. Kitts 9.
St. Kitts has 8.
Okay, St. Kitts 8. Okay. Now, right, the previous leader was PLP. The current leader is Labour. Now, you see, like how Mr. Harris was the Prime Minister and the constituency leader for 7. Right now, he lost the Prime Ministership, so he's the a constituency representative. But like the word that everybody's saying, nothing go on. I think, and do you think, there should be an injection of a budget for every constituency leader? So like how Mr. Harris is out of power. Mr. Harris is only working. He's collecting a paycheck. Like how Sean is a PAM. He's only working. He's collecting a paycheck. But the constituents have left behind. And no one here to represent them. Let's say a person in your constituency have a heart attack or whatever ailment or whatever social service require. Rather than to have one central, what can the constituency representative do for that person? Imagine an urgent matter come up and they have to go overseas because the expertise for that patient is not here. How are funds going to raise to help that? Are they going to go to a church to raise funds? Are they going to be going around? Are they going to be doing charity for that person? By that time, the person probably more than three times of surviving dead. So why can't the constituency, whether they win or lose, every representative have a budget to take care of his constituents, and our constituency not going to have the same.
I take your point. I understand your point, but we have federal ministries. The Ministry of Health is the Minister of Health is the minister for the entire country. So I'm not certain if we can afford a luxury to put them down.
Right now, it's not working.
I'm running out of time.
It's not working. I know that, but it's not working. I will yield to your side. Thank you. But I wish to continue this next time you come out.
Yeah, we can continue that discussion, but I
respect it.
The expenditure is determined by the subject areas, right? National security, health, education, and the list goes on, right? Social development and so on. But I think in terms,
like I said, in that setting is not working because right now the constituents are not making any meet, and the representative is not in a position to help the constituents.
If somebody's sick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if somebody, I mean, why are you talking about if somebody ill? Well, we're talking about national health insurance that need to be introduced. Hello?
Ailment that they got to fly out is the Department of Health or the ministry, health ministry.
Well, we've been talking a long time about the national health insurance scheme that hasn't been introduced because it's cost a lot of money, and there were plans to introduce it on an incremental basis, right? But to put money in a constituency reps for his custody, right? His or her custody. I don't know if that's the way we want to go, really. Yeah. But we'll have to continue this discussion.
Okay.
Your final thoughts, but we have to continue the discussion. Yeah. What's your final thoughts?
All right. That was what concerned me. Thank you, Patrice.
Okay, my brother. I'm sorry we had to cut that discussion. Okay.
Time is time. Time is time. I respect it.
Okay. Thanks a lot for your understanding and for your views. Patches, if you want to find out more on China and St. Kitts, please find out of the conditions and behavior of the Guyanese manager at Ramada towards our citizens. It is appalling, to say the least. Trust me, the workers each day are terrified with her behavior, and the hotel is making no progress whatsoever with that email. But my Straight Talk family, my time is done, and I got to run. We discuss as our main thesis, our thesis for the night, which we entitled From China to St. Kitts with Love. And in a nutshell, we looked at we reflected on the challenging aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic, which hit us and closed down St. Kitts and the world, or the world and St. Kitts. And the issues then with the supply chain shortages and disruptions. And we spoke of the laboratories that struggled with maintaining an adequate supply of test reagents or substances used in the chemical analysis of the coronavirus. And the demand for testing increased alongside a global shortage of necessary supplies. And we reflected at that time, and given the circumstances, a doctor called Terence Michael Drew first, it seems, fell in love with China and contemplated making a quick buck on the backs of petitions and divisions. When Dr. Drew back then attempted to introduce Chinese test kits in St. Kitts-Nevis. The then ministry and government was not prepared to gamble with the health of the people of St. Kitts-Nevis because the test kits from China were faulty. But lo and behold, 2 years later, believe it or not, the said doctor, Terence Michael Drew, became the Prime Minister of St. Kitts-Nevis. And he has found a second love in China. And this time, he has introduced 2,400 houses that unbelievably excludes distribution to poor people. Not for the poor, said his disgraced Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin. Poor people, he said, are not bankable. So how will poor people get to the bank? We ask, will the government guarantee the poor man's loan? After all, the government has a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the poor. In fact, Section 1, subsection C of the NHC Act mandates that the corporation must provide housing for the poor. But instead of ensuring that NHC provides housing for the poor people, according to the law, the Jew administration considered it more prudent to facilitate a private firm from Trinidad and Tobago and guarantees its investment to the tune of $154 million. But my Straight Dog family, we have a bunch of green politicians in government that have no solutions for the myriad of problems the country's economy is facing, especially after surviving a pandemic, one never seen in a century. So they are desperate now to find solutions, and whenever you find this happening with green politicians, expect distractions. And the East Coast housing development is one such distraction that will fail. How can they build 2 houses each day? 600 houses each year. My Straight Dog family, the terms and conditions of the contract are secret, to say the least, and sketchy. And the disgraced Attorney General Garth Lucy Wilkin made a silly excuse for holding on to it and keeping it secret by talking about trade secrets. My Straight Dog family, redact or get a redacted copy of the agreement. Make it available for public scrutiny. Any document can be specifically edited in order to hide or remove sensitive information. The bills of quantities, the BOQs, for example, cannot be a trade secret. Especially when the Prime Minister revealed just yesterday that the cost of land is not included in the cost of housing. What about those who have no land or who have land, as someone asks tonight? Paid for their land. Government sold land, but there's no infrastructure, no water, no electricity, no roads. How will they get their house built? Do they have to pay for the infrastructure? These are issues that must be tackled. But Dr. Joe confused every issue he tries to address. He suggested, it seems, that poor people can afford houses. He didn't seem to understand who is poor or what is poor.
When I hear people talk about for poor people, I want to know what they're talking about. Houses. You think these houses are for? Because housing at the market price right now, people just wouldn't be able to afford them.
Who the houses are for? I would like to have him answer that question. But my Straight Dog family, as we wind up, we all must pray for the help we need to cope with these experts in government who seem to have introduced an alternative to democracy. They are so knowledgeable that their vote is weighted more than ours. But the Chinese fiber cement board houses that are on everybody's mind, my Straight Dog family, is gonna be their doing. Jews' first love, remember, as I said, was the mainland China, when he sourced his Chinese test kits. His second love is still on mainland China, where he's sourcing everything for these 2,400 Chinese fiber cement houses. Yet he talks about his relationship between the Republic of China and Taiwan and circuits under Jew is stronger than ever. Irishman Jerry, who lives in China, debunked that view. Because in the meantime, the Jew Labour administration has approved a factory to manufacture Chinese fiber boards. A full list of the items, all coming from China and granting duty-free concession, includes stoves, refrigerator, water heaters, vehicles, machinery, and the list goes on. And to many of us, it may sound like a Nancy story, but it is true, my Straight Talk family. His first and second love with China. And we don't know, we cannot tell what will come next. But right now, under Terence Michael Jew, everything to stimulate the economy comes from China to St. Kitts-Nevis with love. That's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank all those who called, those who listened and took part on social media, those who sent emails. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. Now, Monday, it's a holiday. So we are going to take a holiday, a night off on Straight Talk. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family. Straight Talk returns next week, Thursday, on this same frequency. So until then, be good to all whom you meet. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the holiday. We'll try to enjoy it here as well. But until we connect on Thursday, remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. We will connect on Thursday, next week Thursday, for another edition of Straight Talk. Bye-bye. My Straight Talk family, keep moving on.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceive, that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now, I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, the Lord I kneel and pray, with my heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day, my guardian to keep, and my guide, over every step I take, He will preside. So whatever my mind conceive, that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on. here, since God protects me with His love, strong, pure, and true, and so sincere. 'Cause my knees I'll always stay to the Lord in prayer. So whatever my mind conceive that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now, I'll keep moving on, I gotta reach the top somehow.